Imagine somebody who has been a pillar in your life telling you nobody would ever listen to you over Sarah Jakes Roberts. And one thing is, when you get stuck, your mind just stays in this loop of overthinking, of fear, of analysis paralysis. Everything was completely different from Nigeria. The loneliness hit me in a way that I never expected, I never experienced. I was just in a place of sadness. Hi, my darlings. Welcome back to the Gold Bee Show and happy New Year. I cannot believe we are in 2026. It's crazy that the last time I was seated here recording was 2 years ago. That sounds really wild to me talking about that right now, but so much has gone on and I'm excited to be back here. If this is your first time seeing me, my name is Ele Babalola, also known as Ele Gold Bee, and I'm so excited to be the host of the Gold Bee Show, where we find gold in very simple conversations. Before we jump in, I just want to ask you, have you ever felt stuck in your life where you feel like you know what to do, but for some reason, it feels like you just can't do it. You just can't get to it. That has literally been me for the past 2 years. I started off on this journey with the mindset, that I'm going to be recording, for the show, the episodes, having guests over. But for some reason, I just couldn't get there, no matter how much and how hard I tried. So I said to myself, you know what? I need to figure out what is going on, and that is what I want to talk to you today about. If you have ever felt stuck, this episode is for you. This episode is for me as I speak. And now, just a few life updates since the last time. If you've been following me on socials, then you have definitely seen that your girl moved from Nigeria to America. I am now officially living with a man. Can y'all believe that? I now live with a man for the first time and I'm so excited, and we'll get into that just in a different episode. We did go ahead and get married. We finally had our dream wedding in Paris, and your girl is officially left-handed. For the past few months, my hands have been heavy. Glory to God. But yeah, let us get into the gist. So like I mentioned earlier, I've moved from Nigeria to America, and in moving, I didn't even realize how I would get stuck. So I started off the show in Nigeria. I was recording, I was enjoying myself. I had built so much momentum, and then I moved, and the shock of being in a completely different environment was something I wasn't expecting. I also did not have a plan when I got there on how I would continue recording. So I just went there blindsided. And when I was there, which I still am, I started realizing that everything was completely different from Nigeria. The loneliness hit me in a way that I never expected, I never experienced. I was just in a place of sadness. So while I was praying deeply to be reunited with my husband, and I was so glad that we had finally closed that long distance gap, being there now was like, oh my God, I no longer get to be with my parents. I no longer get to be with my sisters who I would play with every day. We were now in a different time zone. So even if I wanted to call them, they were probably asleep or at work. The time zones weren't just helping. So with all of that, I realized I started getting a little bit sad. Yes, I was very happy now to be with my husband, but there was the other reality that the long distance between my husband and I had gotten closed. However, the long distance between my family, my friends, just opened up. That was one of the reasons I started getting stuck. That familiar space I was in, I was no longer in there anymore. And my mindset got stuck. The second thing was my team. I had a team in Nigeria for recording. I had built momentum with them. We had flow. And now it was just me and my camera. And I was like, I can't do this. I don't know how to record. I don't know how to edit. It was so difficult. And then I realized I was stuck yet again. And this continued over time. If you can relate, let me know. It was just so difficult. And one thing is, when you get stuck, your mind just stays in this loop of overthinking, of fear, of analysis paralysis, where you just keep thinking over and over, I can do this. You see other people doing it, but you can't just bring yourself to doing that. And that was what was happening to me. And that loop, that fear, and then going on social media where you're seeing everybody posting their perfect lives, which I used to do, right? Because guess what? When you're posting, it's okay, right? You're not thinking like, oh, somebody else is stuck. You're just moving, right? And that was what I was doing. But at this point, I was stuck. I wasn't doing that. And I was seeing everybody else doing it. And I fell into that comparison trap where I just felt like everybody else is living the life I want to live, except me. And that was just so heavy for my heart. I could not believe my new reality. So that was very, very difficult. And it forced me to even get stuck a bit more. And then the labels that were placed on me prior to me getting to this point started resurfacing in my mind. I remember a while back, someone who I highly respected and held in high esteem told me, you would never speak like Sarah Jakes Roberts. And if you know my girl SJR, I love her to bits. But that word stopped me from ever using my voice. And because of that, I started overthinking that maybe all of this is happening because I don't have anything to say. Imagine somebody who has been a pillar in your life telling you nobody would ever listen to you over Sarah Jakes Roberts. That's not anything that anybody should ever have to go through. So for me, in that cycle of being stuck, those words started coming back to me. Those labels that people had placed on me started coming back to my mind. You're not good enough. Maybe that's why things are not happening. You know, you're an imposter and that's why you can't do this again. And all of those things kept repeating over and over and over again. And I just got into that place of, I don't know what to do. And if you've ever been there, then you definitely understand. And the truth is, you can get stuck mentally, you can get stuck physically, get stuck financially. So it doesn't matter where you've been stuck in your life. The truth is, there is always, always a way out. And for me, I got to that point of frustration where I just felt that there has to be more to my life. There has to be more than comparison. There has to be more than the labels that people have placed on me and the labels I've accepted and the labels that I may have even placed on myself. And in that moment, I started thinking and I started speaking because the truth is sometimes, no matter how much you speak to somebody else about your issues, some issues cannot just be solved by people alone. So yes, I talked to people about it. We complained and we will go over it over and over and over again. But I realized until I got so frustrated that the answers I needed weren't coming from people, I had to go to God. And I've come to realize that in my life, there's a God-sized void in my heart that only God can fill. And I remember going to that place where I was done. I was just exhausted from speaking about the problem and not having a solution, talking to people and still not finding answers. And I went to God and I remember taking a walk on my birthday. And I was just like, God, why am I feeling this way? Why do I want to do things and I don't feel like I have the capacity to do them? Why do I keep going in circles? And this is literally me in my mind having a conversation with God who I cannot see. And while I was taking a walk, I felt impressed to start recording little videos, short videos. If you've seen those videos online, then you know what I'm talking about. They're all over my TikTok and Instagram. So what I did was I wrote down what I heard on my walk. I mean, I didn't feel like any answer came, but I wrote it down. And once I wrote that down, I said, you know what? Let me go start making these little videos. It's just 30 seconds on my phone. It's not too hard, right? Pull up your phone and just, record, say something. And as I started recording those videos, I started realizing that my voice indeed was powerful and people were listening to those little clips that I had. And those clips were going really, really far. And to be honest, even if those clips did not go far, just the fact that I got out of that mental rot of staying stuck was everything that I needed. So I don't know what you're going through. And if you are going through anything, I would definitely advise you that the first thing that you have to do is to seek a source that can give you the answers that you need to help you. Sometimes I believe that God allows certain things in our lives so that we can come back to Him. Because at the end of the day, He gets the glory. He gets it. Not anybody, not you, not your friends, not your mentors. Sometimes God just wants that glory because He needs that intimacy with you. So one thing I've come to realize is that movement creates clarity. The clarity I was looking for did not come until I started making moves. So now I want to talk to you about 3 very simple tips that you can implement today if you are stuck to start making those moves that you need to make. The first one is awareness. You cannot change anything until you are absolutely aware of what is going on. So for me, I realized that I wanted to keep making these videos. I wanted to get back on my show and record. And all I needed was just to be aware of that simple fact that I needed to get back to recording because it's tied to my purpose, right? The second thing is making a very simple decision. And for me, that decision was just, I didn't want to feel stuck anymore. I didn't want to feel like I was not walking my purpose anymore. That is it, as simple as that. And the third thing is to make an aligned action. So for me, that looked like booking a space to go speak. And that looked like me texting my friend, telling her, I'm going to be recording next week. And that was all that I needed. Sometimes we stay stuck because we are not moving. So if you are stuck right now, these 3 things will help you. The first one is awareness. The second one is making a very simple decision. And the third one is taking aligned action and just doing it. Like my dad would say, the people who came first position in class, they don't have 2 heads. Why can't you do it? And I know that sometimes it may feel like, oh, this thing is just too hard. But the truth is, it's really just so simple. And you might just be overthinking it. Once you start making the moves, the clarity will come. And then you realize that was not so much of a big deal, right? So you can do it, just like I am doing it. And this video right here is my first step to getting unstuck because I've become aware of it. I've made a very simple decision that I don't want to be stuck. So my action is I'm going to start recording and stop looking at everybody else. So my challenge to you is, what is the one thing that you can do this week that will move you further into what and who you want to become? Welcome back to the Gold Bee Show.